Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tristar Gym channel. Episode, this episode is brought to you by timtam.tech. Timtam.tech makes the world's best deep tissue therapy device. Check out timtam.tech and also jujiclub.com if you guys want to get my jiu-jitsu instructional new one. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, hopefully even maybe next week, I'll have my my second instructional out, Lockdown Guard Part 2. And of course, this is also brought to you by tsdorms at gmail.com. If you guys want to train at Tristar Gym, if you want to do a jiu-jitsu camp, an MMA camp, or just you're in town and you want to stay at the dorms and train at Tristar Gym with me and the rest of the crew, make sure to contact tsdorms at gmail.com and book your room or also get a quote to for your stay. All right, guys, just give me a thumbs up that everything is working, because I got an orange line here. YouTube is giving me an orange line. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm going to keep going nonetheless, because I'm going to assume everything is working properly. But give me a thumbs up just nonetheless to confirm for me that everything is working well. And I'm going to start right away with the first question. What do we got today? Running program for amateur boxers. I don't want to overtrain. I go boxing classes 5 times a week. Well, listen, if you're doing amateur boxing, your rounds are probably 2 minutes off, 2 minutes of work, 1 minute of rest, right? So you got to do something quite similar, something very anaerobic, right? You probably are only fighting 3 rounds. Maybe later in your career, they give you 4 rounds, 5 rounds, depending how much experience you have, depending where you live. Okay, there's different rules to amateur boxing. But generally speaking, an amateur boxing bout is very, very short. Okay, so you don't want to overtrain. Well, here it is. Keep your warm-ups long for your run. So if you're going to, the more intense your run is, the longer my warm-up is going to be. Okay, so if I'm running an 800-meter lap, okay, if I'm going to do 800 meters and then take a break, my warm-up doesn't have to be that long, because the meters per second is going to be quite slow when compared to a 50-meter interval. Okay, so if I'm going to do 50-meter 20-second break, 50-meter 20-second break, I'm really going intense. I need a long warm-up. Why? Because when you're running 50 meters, you're gonna really run hard. Okay, the meters per second is far greater. So because you're an amateur boxer, you have such little time in your fight. You need a high-paced, high-intensity interval type of running. Okay, so I like Tabata for amateur fighters. I like 50-meter sprints. I like 100-meter sprints. I like 200-meter sprints. And once in a while, do a 400-meter sprint. Okay, but you don't need to go ever more than a 400-meter sprint if you're an amateur boxer. Now, I would go from 30-second rest to 45-second rest to 1 minute rest. Okay, so let's say you're doing a 100-meter sprint, you rest 30 seconds, 100-meter sprint, rest 30 seconds, 100-meter sprint. Repeat that for 5 rounds. Okay, now sometimes you're going to do a 1 minute break. You're going to sprint 100 meters or 150 meters or 200 meters. You're going to vary it. And when you rest, you're going to rest for 1 minute, but the first 30 seconds, you're shadow boxing. Okay, so you're going to sprint 100 meters. Once you reach the 100-meter mark, you're going to stop. You're going to start shadow boxing for 30 seconds. And then the last 30 seconds, you're going to just rest. And you're going to repeat that 3 to 5 times. Okay, keep it really short, keep it really intense, keep it explosive. Sprint once to twice a week for 3 weeks. The 4th week, take it off. Okay, that's just a very basic cycle. So you sprint for 3 weeks in a row, and then the 4th week, take it off. Take off the 4th week. That way you'll be sure you're not overtraining. And if you're sprinting for 3 weeks in a row and taking the 4th week off, you're going to be in tremendous shape. Okay, you'll never be under trained. Now, I wouldn't do that all year round. Okay, I would not do that all year round. I would do 3 weeks of sprinting, 1 week off for maybe 2-3 months in a row, and then I would take a 2 week or 3 week off of sprinting completely. Okay, you do not have to sprint all year round. Okay, sprinting is not necessary all year round. And make sure you have good running mechanics. Okay, so look up pose running, POSE. Okay, so P as in Papa, O as in Oscar, S as in Sierra, E as in Echo. Pose running. Look it up. Okay, make sure that you're running pose. And me, when I run pose, I do a slight adjustment. I land more on the ball of my foot, not very much on the toes. When you land on the toes, you stress your Achilles a lot more. Okay, so they've done a lot of tests on pose runners. Pose runners stress the knees less than any other type of running. At least under all the studies I've ever read, pose running always came on top when it came to the knees. That's why I use pose running. I went to the first coaches summit at the PI Institute in Vegas, and they were showing us the statistics The number one injury in the practice room is the knee. For MMA fighters, the number one injury, and I had already noticed that over the years, just by my pure observation, not by I didn't have any statistics, but I could tell you the most common injury in the gym are the knees, no doubt about it, okay? And it's the scariest one because that's the one where you need to go under the knife, okay? So if you hurt your ankle, usually you don't need an operation. Your wrist, your elbow, you don't need an operation. Your neck, it's rare you need an operation. Your back, very rare. It's the shoulder and the knee. It's the shoulder and the knee where they're like, well, we got to cut you open. This ain't going to fix itself. And that's the scary thing. Why? Because then you're out for months and months and months. Okay, so I subscribe to pose running with a slight modification because the stress on the Achilles when you do pose running is actually higher than other types of running. So I just land on the ball of my foot. When I land on the toes, too much on the toes, too forward, I feel it stresses my Achilles. Now, one day you could snap your Achilles cord, okay, and you don't want that. I know guys who've had that injury. It's not a pretty one, okay? You do not want to snap your Achilles cord. So make sure that you land on the ball of the foot. And there's a lot to know about running, okay? There are so many different styles. There are so many different, like nutrition, right? There's so many experts that advocate one way. I keep my running short. I keep it brief. I've done that with many athletes over the years. I feel it keeps the injury at bay. And I like to use pose running. I found a lot of success with pose running. Okay, we got a super chat here. Let's see what it is. This is from Technics. Do you think Cormier could beat John Jones at heavyweight? Well, what a great question. Definitely a great question. I didn't want to forget about the Cormier fight. What a fight. First, I'm gonna answer that question, but before that, I'm gonna give a few comments on his fight versus Miocic. Listen, that was an incredible performance. What a win. He won a second belt in a second category. He was Strikeforce champion. He's currently the champion in UFC in 2 weight divisions. I mean, the man has just cemented himself as one of the greatest of all time, no doubt about it. Now, when I was watching that fight, okay, I thought it was going to be I couldn't make up my mind on that fight, okay? I eventually leaned towards Miocic just because he's the champion and he's on a win streak. And I thought Miocic would just have that slight edge. But at heavyweight especially, it's one shot and it could be lights out. Now, I felt Miocic early on, like the first 2.5 minutes was looking amazing. He was looking like he had the speed advantage, the size advantage, the wrestling advantage. He looked like he had the power advantage. He looked like he had it all. Now, I wasn't too worried because, I mean, that changes a lot in a fight, you know, but when he partially took Cormier down, I was starting to think, hey, Cormier's needs to pick it up. You know, he needs to do it now because this could be a real problem. And then there was an eye poke. You know, Cormier started coming back, started firing back. He started punching. And Miocic landed 2 really beautiful knees. 2 really, really beautiful knees that I thought were money in the bank. Because don't forget, it's a 5-round fight. In a 5-round fight, when you start getting hit in the body early in round 1, that could be a problem. Okay, definitely could be a problem. So, Cormier starts to fight back, sure enough. And then there was that eye poke. Bang! The eye poke. And I felt Miocic didn't take the time. He didn't take enough time to recover. He got poked in the eye pretty bad, and then he kind of waited, about a minute or so, and then he jumped back in. I thought that was a mistake. He should have relaxed, reassess your eye, give it a minute. You cannot have blurry vision. Yeah, I think he should have took longer. Anyways, he gets back in there, quick underhook, right hand on the way out of the break. He gets hit on the side of the eye poke. So I don't know if you saw that shot or not. I'm not trying to say that it was, due to the eye poke, but I think Miocic should have took his time. You get 5 minutes. Why don't people ever take the full 5 minutes? I don't know. Really, I have no idea why. I guess it's the adrenaline. I guess you want to get back in there. You want to pay the guy back. Whatever it is, I felt that was a grave mistake. Okay, so Cormier looked better he looked more powerful. I don't want to say he looked better, okay, because that's we don't have enough to go on, I think, just yet. Okay, we can refer back to those old Strikeforce fights, but now he just took out arguably the best heavyweight in UFC history. Okay, not the most popular heavyweight in UFC history, but the best UFC heavyweight in UFC history, in my opinion. He's arguably the best, okay? Cormier, his camp was saying that he has more power now. He has more power. He's going to heavyweight. He's been dropping guys in the gym. He's been having more power. Guys, it showed. It's true. After that right hand, I was like, wow, what a shot, man. That was more power than we've seen from Cormier in the past. That was more power than we've seen from Cormier in the past. I thought it was a great great shot. I mean, he hits like a heavyweight. That was beautiful. He may be better at heavyweight than light heavyweight. Very hard to say. Would he beat John Jones at heavyweight? I don't know, guys. Really, that's a tough call. I don't know. John Jones has got that reach. Don't forget, John Jones has got a longer reach than Miocic, and he knows how to use it. He fights totally different than Miocic, so it's just very, very hard for me to tell. I mean, nobody can tell, really, right? Or they have to get in there and do it. And I think just John Jones, I think he'll be a little bit too much. Especially, John Jones will have that same advantage. He won't have to cut weight. He'll probably be more powerful. He'll probably have more stamina. He'll probably hit harder. It's a scary thing to think about. And you know what? I thought that John Jones should have went heavyweight a long time ago. He never did it. I think that's probably a place he'll even perform better at. Because don't forget, those weight cuts are not easy. Okay. All right. Next question. Yeah, that punch wasn't from the clinch. That's right. Games for you. You're right. It was. He had an underhook, if I remember correctly, and as Miocic was breaking free, he got hit. But don't forget, the shots that hurt the most are the punches you didn't see. Okay, you didn't get a chance to brace for them, and when they hit you, they surprise you, they wobble you. It's just a different type of strike, right? Because you're not clinched. You're not absorbing it by either rolling with it or clinching. When you get caught off guard, your body's already kind of relaxed. So the shock wave, I don't know what it is. Okay, just my guess. Okay, this is just a guess. The shock wave just feels worse. Like I've been hit when I didn't see it coming, and it's just worse. I don't know why. Okay, I really don't know why. But if I can brace it if I can brace myself or roll with it, it's a lot easier to deal with a punch. This is from Jay. Per your suggestion, I'm starting gymnastics strength training for BJJ, white belt at Renzo Gracie Academy. Any recommendations for must-have basics? Christopher Summer. Check out Christopher Summer's book. He's got an amazing book. It's all about progressions. Okay, start really, really easy. Start with the easiest progressions and work your way there. Don't be a gymnastics hero. Okay, gymnastics is as an assistance to jiu-jitsu MMA. If you do too much intensive gymnastics work, it'll eat up a lot of your jiu-jitsu. Your jiu-jitsu will get worse. Okay, so what does that mean? Go 70-80% of your capability when you're doing gymnastics and keep your sessions brief but frequent. Do them after jiu-jitsu practice. Make sure that jiu-jitsu practice is always the priority. You are not a gymnast, okay? Unless you want to become a gymnast, but you'd have to start really young to be a world-class gymnast. Your gymnastics is just to keep your shoulder healthy, your hips healthy, your knees healthy, your neck healthy. You will never become a legitimate, an elite level gymnast if you do a lot of jiu-jitsu. If jiu-jitsu is always your go-to for number one in priority. Okay, if it's your number one priority, you're not going to be an excellent gymnast. Okay, make your peace with that. Just use it to keep your body healthy. Okay, what else we got here? John Jones is still suspended for using steroids. Well, actually, I'm not sure what his suspension is. I'd like to talk about 226. There was a lot of great other fights. I'm not sure what his situation is. I have no idea when he's coming back or if he's coming back at all. We got another super chat here. Did I miss it? I don't know why it's not popping up. I'm clicking on it. Sorry, Sean K. I'm clicking on your super chat. It's just not popping up. Another great performance that I really enjoyed. I mean, there was a bunch. Felder was a great performance. I thought he really improved. I thought he looked really, really good. But I also love the Pettis performance. Now, I really like Michael Chiesa, and I've hung out with him a little bit. He's a really nice guy, fun guy, cool guy. He looked way bigger than Pettis. So I'm assuming he cut a lot of weight. And he got an early takedown in the first few seconds of the fight. Got a beautiful takedown, scored it, had some top control. Pettis eventually gets back up to his feet, lands a very, very quick right hand, a couple of kick attempts and stuff like that. And at the end, he kind of throws a combo. And Chiesa falls. I rewatched it. He actually didn't make contact. I thought he knocked Chiesa down because of the camera angle. We were like looking at the back of Chiesa's head, and we couldn't really see if the punch connected. The people watching it on TV, I watched it on TV, at least the camera angle I had at the time. And I only saw, I couldn't see if there was any contact. I just saw Chiesa fall. I was like, hey, that may give Pettis the round. But then after I rechecked a different angle, camera angle, and the shot did not land. Okay, so it was a Chiesa round in my opinion. Second round, guys, Chiesa gets clipped quite early. It looks like Pettis' pop is back. It looks like Pettis' his pop is back. He looked a lot better. He looked really quick. And then, of course, Chiesa goes for the takedown. Pettis grabs a guillotine, transitions from guillotine to triangle. That was a beautiful transition that I personally like to do myself. Actually, it's a great little transition. You go from guillotine to triangle. Beautifully done. Sinks in that triangle, and the match is over. Now, Chiesa's a tough guy to submit. Very tough guy to submit. So I was very surprised when, not surprised. I hate to say surprised, but it's just it was a tall order, and I was really happy to see Pettis get that win. I think it was a long time coming. He hasn't had a win streak in a very, very long time, and that was an excellent win for him. I'm sure Chiesa will be back in a big way very shortly. He's a very, very tough guy, very intelligent guy. He'll be back, no doubt, in the win column very soon. DC is a proven cheater. Eye poker and towel gate. Well, was the eye poke purposeful? Look, I personally don't think so. I've met DC. He's such a nice guy. I really like the guy. I find him very, very charming. I think he means well. The towel gate thing, I'll be honest with you, I only saw a picture. I didn't see it, so I'm not gonna make any comment on it. I'll let you guys decide that for yourself. But eye poking, I don't think was intentional. Now, I personally think it's the gloves. I don't know if you guys remember the Pride days where the gloves were curved, and Pride rarely, they had eye pokes, but far less, because when you're boxing, you have your hands up here. You want to relax your hands. You don't want to clench your hands. Okay, most fighters will relax their hands, and then when you're pawing at your partner, at your opponent, your hand is already relaxed, right? Because when you clinch, you're kind of working against yourself. Okay, you can't really be fluid. And that's why we have our hand out. But if the glove is curved, it saves that energy. It does the curling for you, right? Because it's more relaxed to just keep your hand open. That's why fighters open. Like when you box, notice, are you clenching your fist? No, you're relaxing. When you're pawing, you're only clenching your fist right before impact. And it makes sense because when you cock your arm back, if you're clenched, you actually slow yourself down because your bicep is clenched, right? Your bicep is the brake. You don't want to activate the brake, okay? You want to keep your arm really as loose as possible until the moment of impact. That's when you make the tightest fist possible. So we got to curve those gloves. Check out those old Pride fights. And you'll notice that the eye pokes just don't happen as common. They're just not as common. The referee needed to take control of the octagon. Well, I like a referee that lets the fight happen, okay? But I agree that the eye poke situation, it's going to happen, the gloves. But he should have offered Miocic more time. I would have told Miocic, are you sure? I would have had the doctor check him. The eye poke, listen, those of you who have never been poked in the eye, it is devastating. If you've never been poked in the eye, I've been poked in the eye, unfortunately. Okay, that's one of my biggest fears in training. My biggest fears in training is getting hit in the groin, getting poked in the eye. And in that order, guys, in that order, okay? In this order, groin, eye, brain, neck, okay? Actually, it should be neck, brain. Neck, spine, brain. How about that, okay? But those are like the big ones. Those are I don't want those parts of my body injured. Okay, then it's knee and shoulder. Why? Because I'd have to go under the knife to repair that. Okay, so I know guys who've lost a testicle in training. Guys, I hate to say it. I don't want to give you guys nightmares. Okay, but I know guys who've lost a testicle because of training. Grappling. They got hit in the groin and ouch, it's gone. I know guys who've got kicked in the groin and it's gone. That's why I'm so mystified that some people actually spar without a cup. That's just absurd. Some people spar without a cup. If one of my fighters spars without a cup, I'm always telling him off. That's something I'll tell the fighter. I'll be like, why would you spar with kicks? Even just punches is dangerous. But they're kickboxing in the gym and they're not wearing a cup. That's just ludicrous. Okay, it's just stupid. It's stupid. Listen, I've been poked badly in both my eyes. And for days, for months, I'm seeing flashes of light. And it's scary. You could detach your retina, etc. Listen, it hurts. I don't care how tough you are. You're going to turn your face. You're going to wince. You can't see anything. And if you get hit by a shot you don't see, you're in trouble. I got another super chat here. Bobby Kification. How do you determine if an athlete is in a state of flow? How do you help athletes find flow? Well, I cannot from the outside necessarily. Oh, actually, here's my take on it, okay? Now, you want to get in a state of flow. Well, here it is. There are two ways, okay? Either Actually, there are three ways. Okay, the challenge is either just right. Okay, it's in the Goldilocks zone. It's not too hard and it's not too easy. If it was too hard, you're gonna go into stress mode. If it's too easy, you're gonna be bored, etc. If it's just right, you're gonna be in this flow channel. Okay, you're gonna be in this spot where time seems to pass really fast. You're having a good time. Now, as a coach, I observe if my athlete is in flow by seeing, does he look stressed to me? Is he working? Is he desperate? Is he making like pain faces? Is he wincing? Or is he bored that he's lighting the guy up? It's too easy and he there's just no challenge. Now, as a coach, I have to scale the workout. What does scaling mean? Scaling means I'm either going to make it easier or harder because I want to get him in this zone. Okay, so either one, the zone is perfect already. The coach doesn't have to do anything. Two, it's too hard. Then I have to find a way to make it easier for him. I'm going to change sparring partners. I'm gonna ask his sparring partner. I'm going to limit his sparring partner to a few tools. Okay, so sometimes I have George in the practice room. Maybe he's way too advanced for the guy he's sparring with. So I'll tell George, you can only use your left hand. So I'm working his jab. Okay, I'm making his jab more. I wouldn't do this close to a fight, of course. I'm not talking about using this for a fight in training camp. This will be outside of training camp. I want to be in a state of flow in practice all the time. Okay, so let's say I'm sparring somebody who's too easy for me to spar with. Maybe I'm just throwing kicks. Okay, I'm just working my kicks. I'm trying to land the perfect back kick. And I've taken away so many tools of mine that now the match is even. Or the guy's too good. We have to give him a handicap. Okay. Either way, we got to regulate it so that it's challenging for both. Now, as a coach, one thing I look for is to see, is my fighter making brilliant moves? If he's on the mat and he's making brilliant moves, he's in a state of flow. Now, on fight night, you don't have any control. On fight night, you cannot scale. You're either better than the guy or he's better than you, okay? Or you're even, and now it's going to come down to strategy. That's why I always say that strategies only matters if we all have the same amount, if we have the same skill level, okay? You can take a blue belt, give him the greatest strategy in the world, put him up against a black belt, he's going to lose, okay? It's only black belt versus black belt. We're at the even level. And now we're going to fight. It comes down to our strategies. So, on fight night, we cannot scale the fight. We cannot scale it. So, whether you're going to be in flow on fight night, it really has to do with how good you are. In the practice room, I'm scaling. I'm scaling up and down all the time. Okay, so sometimes I'm rolling with somebody. Maybe he's a purple belt and he's not as good as me. Okay, I'm going to let him pass my guard. I'm going to let him mount me. I'm going to give him like, let's say he needs 5 moves to get to the armbar. I'm going to give him 3 of them. And then I'm going to work. He's going to have more leverage now. He's got a better position than I do. Now I'm going to use my experience, my creativity to try to work my way out. And I'm going to be in a state of flow. Practice has to fly by like this. Okay? If practice was long, something was wrong. You're either high stress or low stress, too low. If you're in the right, that's why I enjoy going to practice. Like today at 6:30, I'm excited. I'm going to practice, man. I'm going to go have a good time. I'm going to be in the practice room for about 3 hours. That 3 hours for me is a flash. It's a flash, okay? It's really, really quick. I don't feel like I'm there for 3 hours. I feel like I'm there for 5 minutes. And I do that twice a day, every day. And I was just in the gym. Guys, I just got back from the gym. I was in there for 3 hours. I went in there, actually, I was 4 hours. I went there, worked out. Then I taught the pro class. Then I hung around for the pros, talking tips and correcting a few things. Then I came home. It was a flash. It was really easy, okay? Why? Because I was having I was enjoying my experience. Now, if you're on the mat and you're doing brilliant moves, you're in a state of flow. Okay? If you're in there and you're just getting shut down, if you're in practice, okay, and you're getting shut down and you're getting shut down and you're getting beat and you're just tough and you keep coming, dude, you're just getting good at surviving a beating. You're not developing any skills. Okay, so try to find that state of flow. I would recommend researching Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Check out flow in the workplace. Check out all his other works. I took a class in college on flow. That's why I really got in this system. And there's a good book called The Rise of Superman. I thought it was pretty good. There's some nice descriptions of flow. Okay, we got. I think I had another super chat pop up. If I missed it, I apologize. What else we got here? Firas is in a state of flow right now. You know it, my good friend. How long's it been? 25 minutes? Oh boy, feels a lot shorter than that. What else we got here? Costa versus Hall. That was a great fight. I thought Hall was looking really good. It was seesawing back and forth. Yeah, I'd heard Costa. Costa's a new up-and-coming megastar. I think he's going to go really far. I thought it was a really, really interesting fight. Very, very good performance by both men. It just ended up in Costa's favor. I didn't see the Israel and Tavares fight. Actually, I want to go back and watch that. I had missed that one. I really want to see it. I don't even know the result. Okay, so I'm assuming Israel won that fight, but that would be a tough matchup. I want to go back and watch that. Thoughts on beer and training? Well, you know what? If my fighters drink every so often, they hide it from me because I wouldn't. I don't think. Okay, if you drink on your between camps, that's your business. Okay, but training, real training, hard training camp, and drinking alcohol, it doesn't work. Okay, I don't like guys to eat junk food, much less putting alcohol in their body. Alcohol costs you, first of all, dehydrates you, and second of all, costs you recovery time. You're basically slowing down your recovery time. Okay, so avoid alcohol and avoid junk food. Small amount of processed food is okay. A little bit of treats here and there is okay. Having a cheat meal once, twice a week, depending how lean you are, even 3 times a week if you're very lean, close to weight, go for it. Okay, but on a regular basis, no, it's really, really bad. Do you get nervous for your fighters? Yes, I do. Of course, no doubt. It's but I just don't get nervous before the fight. Like some people are thinking, like a week before, 2 weeks before. Like, are you nervous? Dude, it's in a week from now. I've done 1,000 of these. I'm at the point where I only get nervous right before we walk out, or as the fight starts, or as the fight develops. I don't get as nervous as early. Why? It's just a waste of energy. It's just a waste of energy. I don't need that energy right now. I need it. I need to be high alert during the fight, not now. Okay, so it doesn't really benefit us. Peter Pan, advice on returning after ACL tear. Well, you know what? I've been through a few ACL injuries with my athletes. Okay, so I've never torn my ACL personally, but I've had several athletes tear their ACL. Okay, so quite a long journey. Look up Sports Science Lab. Gavin McMillan. Check out his system. He has a great DVD on pool workouts, on the pool workout. I'm a big believer in the pool workout after you're cleared to train, okay, and not after your surgery. Follow your doctor's rehabilitation program. That is going to tell you, okay, you're clear to train. Check out it's a very cheap program. Okay, it's a DVD. You get a DVD. You get the weights. It's something you're going to do for the rest of your life if you're into staying healthy and fit. I do the pool workout. I just did it last week. Every time I go to the pool, I take my water dumbbells and I do the workout in the water. I keep my knees healthy. It's a great program. I can't really describe it to you right now. Like it's just a lot. There's 1,001 things you can do in the pool, but you need the special little fins, and he teaches you all the great exercises that you can do in the pool. Dominic Cruz will dethrone Conor. Do you understand Damian Maia passing style and active posting? I can't find much information on it. Well, listen, I hate to say I understand it because the man's such a great passer, but I get it. I get what he's doing. I use the similar passes. I teach that kind of stuff. It's been 20 years I've been teaching that stuff. So yes, I do feel like I understand what he's doing. He's a pressure passer. Okay. Now I like to pass standing up. I do his kind of style also. Sometimes I find it very beneficial in certain instances, but it's not really my forte. I'm more of a leg dragger. I'm more of a Toriano guy. I'm more of a knee slider. He's more of a smash passer. He's more of a George St. Pierre type smash passer. Okay. George does a lot of that low to the ground type passing. I think it's excellent. It's an excellent way to pass, just not my forte, even though I do use it quite a bit, but it's not my go-to. What else we got here? Thoughts on Alexander Gustafsson? Well, I think he's a great fighter. Who's he fighting next? I saw it recently, but I'm forgetting right now. Who's he fighting next? Please, guys, remind me while I do this super chat here. Sean Phillips. Hey, coach. I come from a small gym, and my sparring partner is 185, and I'm 125. What should I do in weight? What should I do of his weight and power of overpowering my technique? Well, listen, you need to find other sparring partners. You can't just spar with a guy with with 50 pounds on you on a regular basis, 60 pounds on you. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, it's just really dangerous. You're not gonna get really good sparring. Okay, in my opinion. Okay, maybe he's really good, he's gentle, and he's a technical guy, but in my opinion, it just won't it won't really. I think it's okay to do once in a while, but if he's your main sparring partner, dude, try to find more sparring partners. Try to develop sparring partners. Invite people to your gym and try to develop it. Try to travel, because you won't get adequate sparring. In my opinion, just when you're gonna fight a guy your size, it's gonna feel totally different. Your timing's gonna be off, because you're not fighting at the timing you'll need, and you're gonna make all sorts of adjustments for fighting bigger guys. You won't make the adjustments you need for fighting smaller people. So, in my opinion, find the variety of training athletes. Oh yes, he's fighting Vulcan. Oh, my goodness, that's a dangerous fight for both men. Of course it is. That's what the fights. That's the fights the UFC. That's the fights people tune in for. That's a dangerous one. Of course, Vulcan. He's got that KO power, but Gustafsson's got that experience, guys. That's a tricky one. Very tricky fight. Hooker will only lose to Gregor Gillespie. Yeah, well, you know what? That's an interesting fight. Hooker is one dangerous dude. He scored another knockout. He knocked out Gilbert Dorino. I mean, I've trained with Dorino in the past. A very strong guy, a very athletic guy, and Hooker really looked really good. Great distance control, great hook at the end. I mean, the guy's a tough guy. He's going to get in the top 5, I think, quite fast. After round 1, Vulcan is in trouble. I would agree. I would think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Gus has nasty angle. Yes, he's also got an incredible reach, right? So I want to see how Vulcan can handle that. It's going to be very, very, very interesting. For us, what books have influenced you the most? Well, it depends what topic. If we're talking about training, I would say, look, I know it seems like an old book, but the New Power Program by Michael Kogan. Look, what he did, and look, I've gone far beyond the Michael Kogan book over my years. Okay, but it was one of the early books that I read on training. It's called the New Power Program, and he's got a book called The New Nutrition. Those two books were brilliant books. He really made complicated training protocols super simple. That's what I loved about him. And his book it went straight to the point. It's got a lot of pictures in it describing proper technique, etc. I think it's past date. It's not the exercise science has gone further now than this. Okay, but it's still very relevant. Why? Because there are classical points he made that I think will ring true for many, many years to come. Okay, and he put it in such a simple format that it was easy to extract information from the book. Now, if you're reading Tudor Pampas Periodization, it's complicated. It's long. If you're trying to read super training, man, good luck. I hope you're a strong reader. I hope you've went to university. I hope you understand. It's just more complicated than the average Joe is going to want to read. Okay, so I really like a New Power Program, especially when I started reading, books on training. I was 20 years old. I hadn't developed my understanding of skill, how to develop skill. When I look back, Mike Kogan he made a lot of brilliant points. Okay, he made so many brilliant points, things I still refer to till this day. Okay, I don't use his program as is. I modified it to suit me, but a lot of the training principles are there. Another great training book. I love Pavel Tsatsulin's material. Pavel Tsatsulin, I think he wrote some incredible material. However, I don't use his exercises. Okay, so I do. He's a big believer in kettlebell. I prefer sandbag. I prefer body weight, but I use the same principles, pretty much the same principles. Okay, so he talks about how to develop strength, how to develop power, how to develop endurance. Brilliant man. I just don't necessarily use the tools. And I still use kettlebell. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm in the mood to use kettlebell and I use it. But I like explosive plyometrics that are low impact. I use body weight. I use bands. I use sandbags. I like those kind of tools. And I use sprinting. I'm a big believer in hurdles, sprinting, these kind of. I like also Olympic lifting, even though I keep it very minimal. Whatever your tools that you like to use. Read Pavel for his principles. He's a brilliant guy. What else we got here? We got another super chat. Lots of super chats today. Wow. The Walking Step. Hi, Coach. Advice for first BJJ competition. Yeah, don't overthink it, okay? Your first 50 matches don't count. Think about it like that, okay? Your first 50 matches You're just dipping your toe in the water. You're trying to understand what competition's all about. So go in there and have fun, because whether you win or lose, it has nothing to do with how good you're going to get. Okay, you're going to get good whether you win or lose. As long as you're learning from what you're experiencing, and after 50 matches, you're going to be another monster. You're going to be another creature altogether. You're going to have become reinvented. AAK12345 super chat. Coach, I suffer from solipsism that has led me to nihilism and apathy. What is an antidote to this outlook? Well, I wish I read your question before I read it out loud. Sir, you do not suffer from the solipsism. Come on, man. For those of you who don't know, solipsism is the belief that you created the entire world around you. That you're the only true person in existence. Everybody else is like a dream figure. You know, when you're dreaming, every figure in your dream is from your imagination. Well, your waking life is the same. You are essentially the only being in the universe. Ha ha, very funny, my man. I wish I read your question before I read it out loud. All right, who's the best striker in your opinion? Who's the best striker in your opinion? In UFC? Just striker alone? Wow, that's a tough question. Wow, tough question. I would have to put McGregor's name in the bag, definitely. At all time, I would have to put Anderson Silva's name in the bag, no doubt. Man, that's a tough question. There's so many great names. That's a tough one. What else you guys got? Pop your names out. Let's see here. Wonderboy Stephen Thompson, no doubt. Darren Till is up there, no doubt. I mean, just so many great fighters out there. It's just tough to think of them all. Adesanya, yes, definitely he's up there. Wonderboy, I mentioned him. Paulo Costa, I mean, yeah, he's excellent, but I think he still has ways to go before he's named among the best ever. Prime Jose Aldo, primed Jose Aldo. I think he definitely belongs in there. Once upon a time, Frankie Edgar, I think when he was in his prime, I think Frankie Edgar was a very, very significant striker. George St. Pierre, of course. Whitaker, I put his name up there. I put his name in the hat. There's a lot of guys. John Jones, of course, that's another good name. I mean, it's a hard thing to say. It's hard thing to nail down. What's the first book by Ghazali did you read? Well, I read Confessions or Deliverance from Error. Some people know it as Deliverance from Error. And I also read the works of Frank Griffel. Frank Griffel wrote Philosophy of Ghazali's Theology. Very interesting book. Excellent book. Do you roll in other BJJ gyms in Montreal? No, not really. I'm really busy at my gym. I got black belts coming in from out of town all the time on, all colored belts, I should say. Coming in on a regular basis. I don't feel the need to travel in Montreal. I do travel a lot, and when I travel, I do seminars and I roll with other belts, of course. And whenever I get a chance to roll when I'm out of town, I try to roll. Incidentally, guys, I'm going to Germany in 2 weeks. I know I miscalculated things, but I should have announced that I'm going to do a seminar in Germany. I have not booked a seminar yet, but I imagine I will. Because the show's on Sunday, so I'm probably going to do a seminar in Germany, in Hamburg, on Saturday. If you're an academy that's interested, email me or just message me on Twitter. Message me on Twitter, and I'll get your message for sure. I'll check it out. I'll respond back to you. If you guys want to do a seminar in Germany, Hamburg, I am there for the UFC. I'd be available on Saturday. I'm also going to the UFC in Calgary. So if anybody wants to do a seminar on Friday in Calgary, I will also be available. Contact me on Twitter and we can make it happen. Coach, do you know anybody who has chronic... I have no idea what that is. So no, I don't. Sorry. I was just in Philly, my good friend. Sorry we didn't do a seminar in Philly. I should have done one, but I was just in Philly not long ago. I hope to be back soon. I'm sure I will be. I will announce it when I'm there in the future. Any wisdom on quitting smoking cigarettes? Yeah, every time you smoke a cigarette, have your good friends slap them out of your mouth. How about that? That would be a great way to quit smoking. Smoking is the worst habit a human being can have, in my opinion. Do not smoke. Smoking is just like, we know too much about smoking to do to do it. Like it's just a horrible, horrible habit, and it leads to a slow, painful death. It robs you of your vitality, your youth. You will get old quicker. For those of you who don't know, it promotes impotence. So I don't know if that doesn't stop you from smoking. I don't know what will. Okay, so try to slowly wean yourself off. Try every trick in the book. Find the number one expert on how to quit smoking. That's not me. It's not me. So figure out who it is. Find out the guy who's got the best program there is, and whatever it costs, pay it, and break yourself from the habit of smoking, and rid yourself from this horrible habit. What else promotes impotence? Brian, I don't know. I think fatty foods, steroids. What about steroids? Steroids is another one. That's why I will remain steroid free for the rest of my life, no doubt. Coach, do you have any advice for lifting weights before BJJ? Well, I don't recommend lifting weights before BJJ because I think you can injure yourself for many reasons. Okay, but number one reason is you'll fatigue your stabilizers. Your stabilizers will be fatigued, weakened. So when you get on the mat and you're not in a standard position, you're in a weird position, your stabilizers will be stressed, and because they've been stressed before practice, they might give out on you. Okay, so I really don't recommend doing anything but a good warm-up before BJJ practice. Do your weights after practice. That's what my suggestion to you, because when you're lifting weights, you're aligned, right? Everything's under control. When you're on the mat, things are chaotic. Things are not under control. So do the chaos first and then the orderly practice. I always do my weights after practice, never before. Which stance is better for Southpaw versus Orthodox? There's no one stance. It depends on the guy's style. I think you have to adjust your stances as you're fighting. Are uniforms in MMA positive or negative in your opinion? Well, I land on either way, okay? I think it's good both ways or fine. I think, look, you got uniforms in some sports. It makes sense because it's a team sport, right? How do you tell the foes from your teammates, right? You need to have your uniform, okay? Now, some sports that's more important than others. I imagine football, it's really important. Baseball, not so much, right? There's only one other guy from the other team on the field at once. So it's pretty easy to differentiate who's who. However, it's still professional. People still like it. It makes sense. People want to wear the uniform. In MMA, I don't know if it's going to last or not, but whatever. For me, it's okay. It doesn't make a difference. What I want is the fighters to get paid more. So if the fighters are going to get paid more and they're wearing uniforms or not, to me, it's irrelevant. What's going to put more money in the fighter's pocket so they can better their lives? I think that's the real question. Hi, Coach. Are you familiar with Roger Gracie's black belt, Dan Strauss, UK guy with a very unique strength and conditioning approach? Instagram name, Raspberry Ape, freakishly strong. No, I'm actually not familiar with him. Let me Google him right now. That sounds very interesting. Thank you for bringing him to my attention. Roger's a good friend of mine, but I've never heard of Dan Strauss. Oh, here's his match with... hold on a second, on Polaris. Here's his match on... is this the match I saw with AJ? No way, this guy's a black belt from Roger Gracie? Yeah, I'm watching him right now. I've seen his match. No, I'm not familiar with what he does for strength. I'll try to check him out. He probably has interesting stuff. I'll take a look at him. Thank you for sending that my way. But no, I've definitely seen him wrestle. I just didn't know his name. Yeah, I remember a lot of people were making a big deal out of this match. It was kind of like almost like a street fight. A grappling street fight kind of matchup with AJ. Whitaker versus Gastelum. Well, listen, I've trained with both those men. And it's an interesting fight. It'll be a tough fight. But listen, I think Whitaker is just he's just they got a little too much right now. A healthy Whitaker, I think, will just be a little bit too much. Too much pace, too much combo, a little bit too much power. He's just got more. He's just got more in him. And, I think Kelvin will have his day. But I think it's Whitaker there. But it doesn't mean Kelvin can't win. He definitely can win. He can beat anybody. Okay, he's in the mix with anybody. However, it's not an easy one. Kevin Lee has been saying that his wrestling's better than Khabib's. What's your opinion? Well, I trained with Kevin once, and we just did technique. I could not go live because I was sick that day. I was really, really ill. I actually felt really bad because I was really scared I would contaminate him, get him sick. And I did everything I could to make sure that doesn't happen. Luckily, it did not happen, but I was like really, really sick. Nonetheless, we really wanted to work together. We really wanted to train, so we worked out. I showed him a bunch of stuff on the ground and wrestling, clinching. He's technical. He knows what he's doing. He's super technical. The man knows what he's doing, and he's a super athlete. The only thing is that Khabib is in the same situation. He's super technical, and he's super athletic as well. So I don't know. I really don't know. The two men would have to lock up, and it wouldn't surprise me that they both take each other down. It'll be a seesaw battle, no doubt about it. It would not surprise me in the least. What do you think of Kevin petitioning for a new weight class? Well, I hope there are more weight classes in the future, because a 15-pound and 10-pound jump is just too much, in my opinion. Going from 155 to 170, going from 170 to 185, going from 145 to 155. There are guys who are just stuck in the middle. They're too small for 155. They're too big for 145. What do you do with them? It would be nice to have a 150. And then have more champion versus champion type fights. And I think the fans really like that. Any opinion on Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Heart? I haven't read A New Heart, but I'm familiar with his concepts. I think he's on to something. I think he speaks some truth. I do believe that he has discovered something that is fundamentally true. I think he's knocking on the door of mysticism. He's understood some things, but he's also, in my opinion, he needs to go further than that. I think he's really found something, but there are more. There are more layers, and I think he's an interesting character. I've read some of his material, but there is more. There is definitely more. Hi, Faraz. Big fan of your style. Well, thank you, Howard Job. Appreciate that very much. Thoughts on Chris Summers' gymnastic strength? Well, I actually commented on that earlier today on this podcast, on this episode, so please check that out. Do you like the 10-planet system? Well, I like some things. I personally, I don't do rubber guard. I do an equivalence to rubber guard. I call it the lock guard. It doesn't require as much flexibility. In my opinion, it works really well. It stops the guy from pulling out of my guard. Sometimes when somebody's not wearing a shirt, it's very slippery, and they just kind of pull out. So they kind of walk backwards and pop their head out of my rubber guard. So I kind of changed it with the lock guard. I think the rubber guard is super strong. If you can make it work, what level can you take your rubber guard? That's the real question. The moves work. I just personally chose a different style. All the guard styles that you see in international competition, in my opinion, they all work. Choose the one you feel best. Choose the one that feels right for you and master it. The question is, how good can you get at it? Eddie Bravo can win with his rubber guard, but so can Marcelo Garcia with his butterfly guard. Okay, and so could Gordon Ryan with his inverted guard or his leg lock game. He's in inside Senkaku entries. Okay, different guards doesn't mean better or worse. They've been proven. They've been proven on the battlefield. Okay, now can you master it? That's the last question. Stipe looked like he caught with an alley cat. He got caught with a. I think you mean Stipe looked like he fought with an alley cat. Yeah, he was all scratched up. You're right. It was kind of strange to see. What do you think about the TJ versus Cody Garbrandt rematch? That's a tough fight to call, guys. It's going to be very interesting. They both have knockout power. They both know each other super well. They're both familiar with each other's styles. They've trained with each other for years. So, I mean, it's really going to come down to strategy. The skill level is equal. The skill level is equal. The assets are equal. They both have incredible endurance, incredible power, incredible wrestling, incredible striking. I mean, the chess pieces are equivalent. They're playing chess, okay? If I'm playing you in chess, and I take away your rook, I take away your queen, I take away your bishop, and we start to play, you're probably going to lose really badly. You don't have the assets. You're missing the endurance. You're missing the power. You're missing something. These guys have all the pieces on the chessboard. Okay, so it's going to come down to strategy. Who's going to play the game the wisest? Very hard to call. 50-50 fight, guys. Very, very hard to call. What else we got here? Let's see. What is the best way to increase power and explosiveness? Well, that's a pretty broad question, okay? Well, listen. I like low-impact plyometrics. I like jumping up on a box and stepping down. I don't like to jump down, even though I do some jumping down. Not much, okay? I jump up on the box, and then I step down. Why step down? Because I don't want to bang up my knees. Now, you get a little bit less from that, okay? So if I jump down off a box and then jump back onto another box, that's even better. Because you're taking the energy that you're storing into your muscles from the landing and pushing it and using it for the rebound. Okay, the rebound is king. However, that also puts some miles on your joints. We got a super chat. Classic wood pusher. Lockhart versus Doce. Differences. Well, they're both super good. They're both super good. There are differences, no doubt. I don't want to get into it because that's their own personal information. I brought them both onto my show. They give away a lot of information, but I don't want to do it for them. Okay, so the material is great. I use both systems. I take the best out of both systems. I really enjoy both guys' systems, and some of my fighters prefer one over the other. So I really recommend you guys get familiar with their styles and then pick one that suits your lifestyle best. Coach, who do you see as the next heavyweight champ after DC retires? Oof, very hard to call, guys. I wouldn't be surprised if John Jones, if he ever gets a chance to come back, he wins the world title. So I would tell you, I think John Jones wins the heavyweight world title. Would not surprise me in the least. Gabe Taylor, how can I train Muay Thai and BJJ currently efficiently? Do I have to sacrifice one to become better at the other, or do you think they complement? Look, if the time you're spending doing BJJ, you're taking away from your Muay Thai. There's an opportunity cost. The time you're spending on your BJJ, you're taking away from your Muay Thai. So there's no doubt about it. Okay, you could work around the clock, but every time you're training Muay Thai, you could have been studying your jiu-jitsu techniques or whatever. Okay, so there's an opportunity cost. If your goal is MMA or self-defense, do both. If your goal is to be a Muay Thai champion, don't do any jiu-jitsu. If your goal is to be a world champion in jiu-jitsu, don't do any Muay Thai. That's the real answer. Okay, so it depends all on your goal. Okay, but there's no way that you're going to be as good as at jiu-jitsu. If you had two Gabes, Gabe 1 is doing jiu-jitsu around the clock, and then Gabe 2 is doing some jiu-jitsu and some wrestling. Gabe 1 is always going to win in jiu-jitsu, okay? Michael Andrula, how to make tough decisions. Wow, that's a very broad... Listen, you spent $20 on that question, my man. You should have elaborated, but here, I'll give you my answer to that. Okay? How do you make tough decisions? Well, informed decisions are the best. Okay? Informed decisions. Then me, when I have a really tough decision to make, I try to make as an informed decision as possible. Then I go ask somebody who's an expert in that field. I go get a second opinion. Somebody I respect, somebody I trust. And I will ask them to give me their advice. So sometimes I reach out to John Denahar. I reach out to my coaches in the gym. I'll reach out to the wrestling coaches, a grappling coach. I will communicate with somebody that I have a lot of respect for, that I think can give me some perspective. But in the end, I make my own decision. And I live with the consequences because I'm going to learn from them. Okay, I can't let somebody else decide for me. In the end, I decide for myself. So when I want to be informed too, I want to ask somebody's opinion. I always ask an expert's opinion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 experts. Then I make a decision, and I'm ready to live with the consequence. Now, why do I say that? Because you can drive yourself mad by overthinking something. Okay, and I've been guilty about this in the past. Okay, a great way to think about it is paralysis by analysis. You want to understand the problem so much that by the time you actually ever come to a decision, the time is expired. The opportunity has expired. So let's say somebody tells me, hey, would you accept this matchup? Let's say it's a big fight, and I'll do some research that night. I'll ask a friend that I trust, but eventually I have to make a decision. And there's a time, and I make the best decision I can. And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong, but I have to live with it. Now, if you think that you're going to understand the problem fully before you make a decision, you're insane, because you can never understand any problem fully, because there's always more input to analyze. And the more input we analyze, the more byproduct there is, the more input. We have to analyze our analysis now. And then we have to analyze the analysis of the analysis, and so on. And it's an infinite request. So we got to draw a line. It's got to be reasonable. Okay, we can't rush into a decision, but we also can't do it. We can't take forever to decide. So that's why I've landed in life. Okay, when I make an important decision, I do my due diligence. But when I do my due diligence, I don't complain later that I should have thought this or should have thought that. I'm willing to look back and learn from my mistakes, but I accept that that's going to happen, and I just move forward. Okay, so that's my advice to you. I hope that helps. All right, guys, we are close to an hour in. I'm going to have to wrap this up very, very, very soon. Did Daniel Cormier cheat? Well, not to my knowledge. Okay, I really doubt he cheated. I think he won fair and square. We got another super chat here. Ali Wazati. Hey, coach, tell us about the book you're writing. Oh, awesome. Listen, I gave myself a full year to write the book. Why? Because I'm such a busy guy. But I got to write this book. It's actually an audio book because I think information now in the future, it's audiobook first and then the written book. That's just how I see it. I'm going to get a ghostwriter to write the full book. I'm going to put my book so clear. It's probably going to be about 2 hours to 3 hours long, but it's going to be so straight to the point, guys. You're going to love the way I write a book. You're going to be like, man, this guy just saved me 6 hours of painful reading. And he gave me, it's a 10-hour book in 3 hours, and he didn't bore me one bit. That's the goal of my book, okay? Now, the book starts, it's about narrative. It's about the things we tell ourselves. We take things as truths when they're really just narratives. Now, there are truths in the world that are objective, or ultimately objective, like I like to say. But that's not what this book's about. The book's about things we tell ourselves, what's going on between your ears, and why people fail before they've even tried. You got to light that spark in your chest. You got to light that spark in your mind, and you got to march forward, and you got to attain your goals. And that all starts with the dialogue and narrative inside your head. Your narratives are either lifting you up or crippling you. They're doing one of those two things, okay? They're never being neutral, okay? So I'm going to be making this book crystal clear. Any guy who reviews my book once, twice has understood what I have to say. It's going to be so crystal clear because I read a lot of books, guys. And sometimes I'm halfway through a book and I throw it out. Why? Because the guy's he's fluffing the book up. The book is full of fluff, and I'm wasting my time reading this guy's book because what he told me in 5 chapters, he could have told me in 1. So that's the kind of books I like. I like books that get straight to the point, that cut right to the meat of it. Because when somebody's giving you fluff, they really don't have much to say. So that's what I'm writing. I'm writing a book on narratives, how your thought process should be. And I'm writing this book because I find a lot of people in this world are reactive to the society around them. So you see a lot of people nowadays are always offended. I'm offended. I'm angry. I'm offended. I'm offended. The reason why you're offended is because of a narrative going on in your mind. People tell themselves things and make up dangers and obstacles out there in the world that do not exist. Okay, and this holds you back. This holds you back. And why am I writing this book? Because I get people writing me every day about, they're asking me, can I do this? Can I do that? I always tell them, look, is it logically possible and is it physically possible? Then the answer is yes. The only other option left is, will you do the work to get there? The possibility of you not making it is very slim. You know, I'm not saying you have complete control over your life, but the odds of you, if you want to master the piano, you can master the piano. If you want to master the game of football, you can master the game of football. Now, also, we're going to have to do self-assessment and see, do you have the potential? Do you have potential? Because, you know, one man's work I like to draw on a lot is Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker says, look in the mirror. What talents are you born with? Are you 6'1"? Are you 6'6" and super explosive? Maybe you should play football. Maybe you should play basketball. Are you somebody with an incredibly high IQ? Maybe you should be an academic. Are you somebody who's freakishly strong? Maybe you should be in a particular sport. What assets are you born with? Let's exploit the things that you are naturally gifted with. What are those things? Look in the mirror. Ask your friends and family. What are your friends and family, growing up, what did you hear often? Did people tell you, hey, you got a great way with words? Or, hey, you're really funny. You're a really funny guy. Maybe you should be in entertainment business. I don't know. Maybe somebody tells you, I don't know, you're really good with math. Well, maybe you should get into engineering. I don't know. It depends on what your talents are. Whatever you find success in, you're going to fall in love with. If something gives you great success, you'll fall in love with it, whether it's a sport or a job or whatever. If you're the best in the world at something, I bet you that's something you're going to love doing it. Why? Because you do it the best. All right, guys, I'm getting a lot of super chats today. Thanks for sharing knowledge, learn important things, and you inspired me to train even harder and would like to come and train at Tristar Gym one day. Questions? Thoughts on John Kavanagh, SBG? Well, I've never actually been in the practice room with John Kavanagh. I've met him many times, so I've never trained at SBG. Not much I could say about that. So unfortunately, I've never gotten to work with him. But he seems to me like a very intelligent, sensible guy. And I've seen his athletes. His athletes are excellent. He's a world-class trainer. He's proved himself time and time again. So I don't have any first-hand experience, but I know he's a brilliant trainer. There's no doubt about it. I just unfortunately hadn't had a chance to work with him. Michael Andrula, how to make tough decisions. Oh, I answered that one. Beautiful. All right, Manuel, I hope that answers your question, guys. I'm going to do one more, and we're going to wrap this one up. Marshall Zar, thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. What if your talent is art, but hate working in the art field? Well, look, I'm going to end on this one, okay? Listen, you're going to have to make the choice. Can you cultivate a love for art? I mean, if you're a Rembrandt, for God's sakes, if you're a Rembrandt, do you want to keep your God-given gift from the world? That's a serious decision to make. I mean, if you're up there. If you're just a dabbler in art, don't make a big deal out of it. Try to get an honest assessment. Guys, I really recommend you all read Peter Drucker's Managing Oneself. Peter Drucker, Managing Oneself. Guys, it'll take you 30 minutes to read the book. 30 minutes, you're going to read one of the best books ever written about how to direct your life. Now, my book's going to go more about the psychology of this direction. How your words, how the mantras you tell yourself over and over again actually affect the way you behave. They actually affect the way you see the world. My sons, I'll be honest with you guys don't think I'm a little crazy. My sons will be reprimanded if they say something negative. If my son tells me, hey, I can't do this, I'm like, hey, you haven't practiced it enough. It's like, you're right, I haven't practiced this enough. I don't feel like practicing this. I don't feel like mastering this. Okay, that's a different topic. That's a different topic altogether. But don't ever tell me you can't do something unless you've tried it 10,000 times. That's what I tell my kids. Did you try it 10,000 times? They say no. So how do you know you can't do it? How do you know you can't do it? Oh, I don't know. Exactly, you don't know. I diffuse it right away. Diffuse it right away. Okay, throw it out. That kind of language in my home is forbidden. You guys might think I'm crazy. But I think you're crazy if you allow that kind of talk in your home. Another really good book that I recommend to you all is come on, I can't believe I forget this book. I've recommended this book 1,000 times. Hold on, I'm gonna pull out for you right now. Carol Dweck. See, it came to me before I even finished typing it. Before I even the Google got it. Mindset by Carol Dweck. Guys, read that book. Okay, there's some nice studies in there on mindset. How you see the world, your paradigm has to be a positive one. It has to be an empowering one. Okay. In my book, I'm going to give you guys a bunch of narratives. Like I'll share with you one now. Okay. Because I do this presentation for major companies. Sometimes I get hired to talk to a major company. They have thousands of employees. They invite me over. I give a speech. And I always get the same thing. Everybody always loves my lecture, and the same company will hire me over and over again. I've been doing this for a few years now. Okay. Now I said to myself, you know what? I got to take my presentation. I got to share it with the MMA world. And just help people out there as much as I can. And then one of the sentences I like to use is one. It's positive narrative versus negative narrative. So one of the narratives I like to use is I use training narratives. I use corporate narratives. Okay, so one narrative I like to use is people say oftentimes people say the rich get richer. Some people live by that narrative. They say to themselves, you know what, the bankers or the tax system, if you live in Canada, oh man, the tax system is just, it's structured in a way that they hit you every which way. You get taxed every which way. That you'll never be rich here in Canada. It's very hard to get rich in Canada. Oh, America is where you can actually make money in this world. And people, there's some truth to it. There is some truth to it. I refuse to live by that narrative. I tell myself something totally different. I tell myself, I save my money. You know, one famous narrative we all know is people say, I save my money for a rainy day. I don't live by that narrative. I don't think anything's wrong with that narrative. But I personally don't live by that narrative. That narrative reflects your inexperience, your lack of understanding about money. The person who says, I save money for a rainy day, his level of knowledge when it comes to money is not black belt. It's blue belt. In my opinion, okay? I don't want to give you guys any financial advice. This is my opinion. A black belt, he sounds more like this. I save money for future opportunities and investments. I save money for future opportunities and investments. That guy's going to become a millionaire. If that guy truly is not giving lip service, he actually understands what he's saying. Okay, it's not a facade. And I talk about that in my presentation. Okay, you have to actually understand the knowledge. You can't just parakeet it. Okay. That guy sees money as a seed that he's going to plant in various places, and that money is going to grow. That man has reached a higher level of understanding. I'm very fortunate that I got that level of understanding at a young age. That's why I don't feel I've ever worked for a living. I worked for a living when I was young. I don't work for a living anymore, okay? So if you tell yourself, I save money for a rainy day, you're playing defense. You have a limit. You're scared. When it comes to the game of money, you're scared. You're going to hang on because one day you don't know how to make any more of this. So one day you might starve to death. So you're going to hoard it. I don't hoard my money. When I see a good opportunity, I know it's a risk. Sometimes I lose, but in the end I win. Okay. Because you have to make smart, educated investments. It always comes with a risk, but I always got my eye out for the next investment, my next idea. Okay. And I've had many ideas that fail. Okay. Many, but it's just like jiu-jitsu. You want to learn jiu-jitsu, you're going to fail from white belt to blue belt. You're going to fail. When you start in purple belt, oh, now you're a handful for anybody. Now you're making it. Brown belt, black belt. At black belt, people are like, hey, this guy never loses. No, that's not true. You lost so many times, and now it's hard to make you lose. But you're still vulnerable like everybody else, okay? But far less. The game of money is the same way. You can be a black belt in money. There are people out there in the world where if you give them $100, they'll take that $100. They'll go out in the world and they'll bring you back $1,000. Okay? There are people who understand money that much. Now, I'm not a black belt in money. I would say I'm like a purple belt in money. Because every day I study martial arts. I don't study money, but I did study money for a long time. I read many business books because I wanted to set myself up so I can do more martial arts. And that's what happened. Today, I just do martial arts full time. I have several businesses they run. I have, multiple streams of income, etc. So that in the future, all I have to worry about is jiu-jitsu. I don't worry about paying the bills, okay, so to speak. I have multiple streams of income. And I'm always creating new multiple streams. Why? Because I feel that any business I have can be dead in 5 years. Okay, that's a good rule of thumb. Any business that's running, assume it's going to be dead in 5 years. Why? Because the market is changing nowadays so fast. So fast. The next invention might make your business obsolete. Okay, so luckily for me, I have many businesses, and I'm always looking for the next one. I'm always looking for the next vine because I feel like I'm swinging from one vine, I'm grabbing the next vine, and I'm swinging, and I'm going to be that way my entire life. And some businesses are going to last me my entire life. Great, fantastic. But you can have that kind of talk for your training, for your nutrition, for your fitness, for everything, from everything. Your narratives have to be tight because what you tell yourself over and over again is how you're going to start acting out these narratives. Okay? You're programming your own mind by what you tell it all day long. Okay? So that's the book coming out. Hopefully now I'm not going to get all sorts of social pressure to get the book out faster than I can, but I'm definitely going to sit down one day, buckle down and finish it. Okay? I've started it. It's pretty well developed. I would say it's like halfway done. But I haven't worked on it in a little while, but that's a little taste of it. Okay, guys, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Guys, smash that like button, share it, subscribe, ring that bell thing so you get notifications. The more this channel grows, the more I'm going to do episodes. I'm hoping to get to the point where I'm doing an episode every single day, but we have to grow to that. So hopefully it'll happen. Thank you all for tuning in and see you all in the next episode. Thank you.